Hi, I'm Shayna.
And I'm Tracey, and we are the creators of The Pump and Dump Show. We are moms, but we were women first. And in this podcast, we explore what it's like to be a woman who also happens to be a mom.
Before we were moms, we were women. Before we were moms, we were chilling. We were pumping and dumping. We're talking about something. This is the Pump and Dump Podcast.
Welcome back, breeders.
Good breeders. How are ya?
How you doing out there? We often have episodes where we just kind of talk to an awesome mom. And this is going to be one of those episodes, you guys.
An awesome MILF.
An awesome mother I'd like to find out about.
Mm-hmm.
It's always interesting to see how people balance their career with being a mom when you're a working mom, right? So obviously Tracey and I work from home, somehow balance our tour and podcast life.
I'd like to say I work from an airplane because I really do.
We work from HGIs, Hilton Garden Inns.
Hilton Garden Inns for life.
But it's always kind of interesting to hear everybody's story.
Absolutely.
And our mom today, you may have heard of her. She's also known as Kelly's mom from Just Add Magic.
Just Add Magic, you guys.
Catia Ojeda. She is an actress and has been since I've known her, which is many years. And she lives in Los Angeles. And
she's a mom.
She's a mom. She does commercials. She does television. She does movies. She does all kinds of stuff. And she's had a really interesting, long career. And she has 2 tiny babies.
So we're just having a convo and having her spill the beans on what that's like to be a working actor mom in LA with 2 tinies.
We got a special guest.
Special guest. Our special guest today is Catia Ojeda, who is, I don't know if you guys watch Just Add Magic on Amazon, but it's Kelly's mom.
The mayor.
The mayor. Catia is a good friend and an amazing mom of 2 tiny boys. And she's also an actor in Los Angeles, which is a fascinating world to, I'm sure, make your way through when you have tiny babies. And so welcome to the Pump and Dump Podcast, Catia.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for having me.
You're awfully perky for having a 1-year-old sleeping in the bedroom next to you.
Thank you. I'm acting like I'm not exhausted all the time. I also had a shameful amount of coffee this morning, knowing that I was going to be talking to you guys.
There's no shame in coffee consumption.
There's no shameful amount of coffee.
I mean, unless you start to bug out and you have to get up and run around, but
although
hydrate.
I will say I drank so much coffee at my kids' swim meet the other morning that every time I stood up from a sitting position, I thought I was going to pass out.
Oh my gosh.
So that wasn't good. So tell us how old your boys are.
They're tiny. So my oldest is almost 5. He'll be 5 in July. And my littlest one, my baby, just turned 1 year old a few days ago.
Oh my gosh.
That's tiny.
Yeah, they're tiny.
I always want to ask moms this. So tell me, so that's a good 4 years almost 4 years between them. Was that on, was that on purpose? Was that you wanted to spread them out? What I always love people's stories about age differences.
I didn't think it I always kind of thought that I'm going to have minimum 2, maximum 3. That's what I always said. And then I had 1 and I was like, and done, because it was just hard and blew my mind. But then a couple years passed and you start to forget how truly hard it was. I'm sure this sounds familiar to many moms who have more than 1. And I'm like, oh, I can do it again. And we did. But both were planned. That 4 years wasn't intentional, but it just worked out that way. I was ready. 4 years had passed and I'm like, okay, I think I can do this.
I think I've forgotten enough of the pain.
So then was it like a big slap in the face, or do you feel like you got enough of a reprieve that it was like a fun adventure again?
That's code for have you slept?
And
some
how miserable
things
are you?
were slapping. You forget how truly hard the sleep deprivation is. Do you know what I mean? Like 4 years is enough time to remember it and be like, oh my God, that was so brutal. But then you do it again and you're like, holy shit, this is brutal. Like it's and harder the second time, as all moms of multiples know, because you have another little one who super needs you, you know? So like gone are the morning naps. Like when my first one was born, you know, the nights were terrible and then you would sleep the next day when you could.
Right.
And now, like, there's no naps because you have a, you know, 3-year-old that needs you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's harder, but also not as hard because you've done it before.
So there's
like,
the surprises and the terror aren't there probably.
Yeah, not as much terror. Like, not as much. Like, it's still really hard, but for me, the second time there was just a lot less despair.
Oh,
Do you know
that's
what
a
I
good
mean?
word.
Like those feelings of like, I am not gonna fucking make it.
Yeah.
Or I'm not gonna make it. You know?
Yeah.
Like it was more like, okay, this is really hard, but I survived it before and I'll survive it again. And
it's kind of like when you have the flu and you think you're lying there and you think I've never been well in my life and I'm never gonna be well again. It's like hard to see.
Yes.
It's hard
It's
to
like
see
that.
the light.
It's hard to see the light.
Well, the other day I was just feeling like exhausted in general, and I was laying in bed, and we had had a couple of weeks of just like so much work, and I just hadn't had a day off in forever. And I was laying there, and my husband asked if I was okay, and I was like, I don't think I've ever been this fucking tired in my whole life. And then I remembered that I've had 2 children, and I was like, oh wait, no, I have totally been way more fucking tired than this, like way more tired.
Your definition of tired changes.
Yeah.
Right? Like now that I'm a mom, and now that I'm a mom of 2, like I'm so sorry for every time in my life that I ever said to anyone, oh my God, I'm just so exhausted. I'm just so burnt out, like in my 20s.
Oh, I
and
know.
Like,
deeply regret it.
No, we did not know. We did not know what exhaustion was.
And
like,
don't
I'm
you just
so
want to murder
embarrassed
people who don't get it? Like, you know,
You have no
murder.
idea. Can I say a silver lining though to being that tired? Because I'm a notoriously terrible sleeper. Like had insomnia since my 20s, and I have to say I loved that that newborn part when you're so sleep deprived, because no matter when my head hit the pillow, I was out. Like I've never been out in my life. Like I felt like when I could sleep, I slept so deeply, and it was such a joy because I didn't have to lay there. I was just so tired. I just would go thunk and be out. So that's what kept me going.
Impressive. So having a newborn helped your sleep?
Helped her fall asleep.
Yeah, like in a weird. Also, I have to say, being an insomniac, I withstood it, I think, better than some other people because I was like, oh, I got this. I haven't slept in years. But no, it it helped me fall asleep and like go into that deep sleep like real fast.
Nice.
I know.
No, you got to take the perks where they come.
I just just silver linings, man. Just trying to keep happy, keep positive.
So all you moms out there who want to murder us right now.
Yeah. For all you single women who have trouble sleeping, just have a baby.
Yeah. There you go.
Exit single women. I love that you pushed it that far.
All your single women.
That's amazing. Okay, so tell us about, you moved, so I used to know Catia because we all lived in New York together, but you moved to LA when?
In 2012,
Okay.
essentially. We were like back and forth for a year, but then formally in 2012.
And you are a working actor.
7 years ago.
That is 7 years ago. And you're a working actor, and you made it through both pregnancies and both newborns while having to go on set and do crazy stuff like that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. You know, I feel like I'm an exception. I've gotten really lucky. My pregnancies have truly blessed me. I've worked quite a bit, but my 2, I guess, biggest jobs came when I was pregnant, both times. I was literally 9 months pregnant when I booked the pilot of Just Add Magic.
Were you really?
Enormous. Yes. Yeah, really. So
I don't remember. I'll have to go back and study. They hid you well.
Well, here's the story though. So I booked the pilot, and it had come. This audition came to me. I hadn't been on an audition in months because I was pregnant, and because I was pregnant. So an audition comes in, and it's for this pilot, and this was 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago, and I wasn't auditioning for a lot of pilots then. Like, this was a big deal audition for me at the time.
Sure.
So I'm like, and I told my agent, I'm like, well, I'm really pregnant, like really, really pregnant. You should let them know. And so he did, and he's like, oh, they want to see you anyway. And I'm like, okay. So I show up like enormously pregnant, and I just knew that I wasn't going to get it because I was so pregnant. And I think I was so relaxed. So I
Oh,
did this like amazing audition because I knew I wasn't going to get it. And then I freaking got it. I booked it. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, okay. So they're going to just shoot around your enormous belly. My character was in 2 scenes in the pilot, and they're like, okay, so we cut you out of one scene. You're just going to be in one scene, so you only have to work one day, and
oh,
isn't that amazing? I know. I was like, wow, amazing. So, and I was due in 2 weeks. So the day before the shoot, I was scheduled for a costume fitting, and it was at 11 a.m. I woke up that morning at 7 a.m. because my water broke.
oh.
And I was broke. Now, was I like, oh, my water broke, I guess I'm having a baby? No. I was like, oh wow, I'm having a lot of like weird discharge. I better wear
It's
a
very
pad
wet.
so that I don't get this weird discharge on the pretty TV close to the fitting that I'm totally going to.
Oh
I'm
my
in
God.
labor. Okay.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
like labor has started. I'm like, oh, these Braxton Hicks are really intense. I better take like some Tylenol so I can make it through my costume fitting that I'm going to for this TV pilot that I booked and I'm shooting tomorrow. Like total denial for like 2 hours.
Oh my
Complete and
gosh.
total denial. Yeah. And my husband is like, honey, I think
Having a
you're
baby.
in labor. Like, you might be in labor. I'm like, I'm fine. It was just Braxton. They're really intense. And I'm like, no, I'm going to this costume fitting because I got the biggest job of my career that's shooting tomorrow and everything's fine. I'm not having a baby. I call, oh yeah, cuckoo. I go into complete, I don't think I've ever been in true denial, like psychological definition of denial, but this was it. This was definitely it. So finally my husband is like, honey, you need to like snap out of it. So my first call, do I call my doctor? No. I call my agent. It was like 9 a.m. maybe. Like, my concept of time is a little fuzzy. You know how it is when you're in labor and you're like, I don't know if it's been 20 minutes or 3 days. So I think it was about 9 a.m. I called my agent and I'm like, hi, I don't think I'm gonna make it to the fitting today. He was like, what do you mean you're not going to make it? I'm like, yeah, I just really don't feel well.
Oh my
God. I
God.
think I'm really, really sick. And I think I'm just not going to make it. So maybe.
You said you were sick?
Like crazy. Like, and then I have a contraction so strong I like can't talk anymore. And my husband is like, Catia Ojeda, you're having a bit like. So then I called my doctor, I called my mom. And once I called my mom, then it became real. And I
started bawling.
Tell your mom something.
Oh, sure.
Like so then I like start crying and I'm like, I'm gonna have a baby. Then the contractions start coming so strong and fast. I like don't even know what's happening. We literally rush to the hospital like it's a movie. By the time we get to the hospital, I'm screaming for an epidural. They check me and they're like, oh, you're almost 7 fucking centimeters dilated. It was about noon. So I'd only been in labor for 5 hours.
You're like, but the costume.
But I have
the costume fitting.
Yeah, I know. So people are like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. So I guess they just waited for you to recover. And then you went and shot the pilot. And I'm like, no, they replaced me. So, because it was shooting, like TV works so fast, and location, like there's so many things that come into play rather than like the actor's availability is the last,
right,
important thing on the totem pole. And we are so replaceable. So they replaced me. I guess they called the actress that was, their second choice, their next in line choice. And
sorry, actress, that we just said that.
Sorry, I know she's great and her career is doing fine and like I think she's fine. But so she shot the pilot. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I was not in the original pilot because I was in the hospital
having a child,
a baby, and ripping my vagina up. so I couldn't be on
As
TV.
you do.
So,
Wow.
Katya, that's so funny because when I
9
went
months.
into labor, the very first thing that I thought was the Merry Maids, because my mom had been kind enough to to get a cleaning crew like as a gift for me, which had never happened in my whole life. I've never had a cleaner come through my house, and they were coming like a week, a couple weeks before I was supposed to go have a baby. But because
Thoughtful.
I went into labor, the only thing I could think was, call Merry Maids, call Merry Maids. Like that was my, like, we have to make sure that my house gets
Your bizarre
cleaned.
focus.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So continue.
Like labor, it's just so crazy. Like you're like, what can I'm so out of control. What
Yes.
can I
Sure. Oh, that's a good way.
control?
Yeah.
Merry Maids or like TV clothes. I can control this. I'll just wear a pad and take some Tylenol because I really don't feel
fine.
Take some Tylenol. Wait, so then so they refilmed because you were in the pilot that ended up on Amazon, right?
Yes. So they shot the pilot and aired it. So it was on Amazon without me in it. And another actress played the grandma. Dee Wallace plays our grandma on the show. So it was originally another actress who played the grandma, and obviously another actress who played mom. And the rest of the cast was the same. And then 9 months, ironically, 9 months after the pilot aired, I got a call from my agent and was like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, remember that pilot that you booked that you couldn't shoot because you went into labor early and
You
had
totally
your baby?"
flaked on.
Like,
The one you hate your baby for.
Did you name your baby
Not
Amazon
really.
just to remind it how much it cost you?
oh, it was so hard. People are like, "Amazing, your baby's perfect," and I'm like, "Yeah, maybe I would have loved him a little bit more if he'd come on." No. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. So we're like, "Yeah, remember that pilot you booked that you couldn't shoot because you had your baby?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember that." They're like, "Well, it's going to series," and I'm like, well, "That's great. I'm so happy to hear that." But then they're like, they're doing some recasting. The role that they really wanted to recast was the grandma. I found out later that some of the producers were like, "Well, if we're recasting grandma, let's see how our original mom is doing." So because they really wanted to recast the grandma role, I was like a freebie, I think. So they brought me back in. I had to like re-audition. I had a screen test with Olivia, who's the star of the show, plays my daughter, and
Kelly.
Went back for another audition. It was like 2 weeks of jumping through hoops, and then I got it.
Yes.
Again.
Wow.
I know, it was bananas. It was so crazy. So they went back and reshot that scene in the pilot with grandma and me. It's like a dinner scene with the whole family. So they just reshot it and like inserted it into the pilot.
Like nothing happened.
And then we went on to shoot for, 3 more years.
Wow. So you went quote unquote back to work then with a pretty tiny baby, but at that point it was 9-10 months.
Yeah, he was 10 months old when I went back to work. Yeah.
And what was the shooting schedule like for you? How was that? I know there's early mornings and late nights and all that kind of stuff. Was it different since you were working on a set with the kids, or did you?
Yeah, in general, the hours, TV hours are nuts. I feel like everybody, that's kind of a given. But the TV hours are a lot kinder when you're working on a kids show because of those pesky child labor laws, and they can only be on set for so long. However, it did occasionally, not often, but every once in a while it would backfire for the adults on the show because you would be, because they can work us
to
all
death.
day long. To death, and they do on, grown-up shows. So sometimes it would suck because I'd be like the first one in to shoot the first scene, and then I'd have to wait around until the end of the day until they wrapped all the kids so I could get my other, because they can keep me, but they can't keep them.
Right.
So it was always a race to get all the kids stuff. And so sometimes the adults would be like waiting for hours to shoot 2 lines at the end of the day. But in general, it was good hours. But, it's hard. It was hard being away from the little one. I was still breastfeeding then.
Yeah.
So pumping and dressing rooms and all that crap, hated that. But it was okay. Like, you make it work, right?
Yeah.
Somehow we do.
Yeah, I guess we do. So what's it like being, I mean, what's the mom vibe in Hollywood? I mean, are there a lot of moms like yourself that are out there working and have little babies at home? I mean, working moms are working moms to a sense, but there's pressures from Hollywood that you don't have when you have a normal job. And I mean, what's your take on the whole experience?
I feel like it's getting better. I feel like it's kind of like getting cooler to be a mom. Like I feel like not too long ago it was like shameful to be a mom or to be a parent. Like, oh, I'm not cool anymore, I'm a parent now. Or like, I think there's a lot more ownership of being a mom and a lot more honesty in being a mom. And like, shows like y'all's, like the Pump and Dump, like makes it cool and awesome and embraces moms, and we're like being honest about how hard it is. And so I think the attitude is better. I mean, there's still Hollywood bullshit of like being young and beautiful and then you're a mom. Like as if you can't be like beautiful or sexy or cool or relevant because you're a mom.
Right.
But it's getting better. And like more women in charge helps for sure.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, sure.
And did you feel like you had to wear like one of those Kardashian corsets and not eat for 9 months because you had to like go back to your pre-mom weight of like being 20s and then take a picture of yourself with a 6-pack like 4 weeks after having a kid?
She means a 6-pack of beer.
I totally did that. No, I didn't. I think fortunately for me, I didn't really like, I've been a working actor for a long time, but I think Just Add Magic was probably like my highest, I don't know, profile job, which was playing a mom. So fortunately in my case, like I didn't have some hot girl, bullshit image that I had to go back to. So, but I know a lot of women who do suffer that BS, like, and I don't know. Can we just stop that? Like, can we stop that, Hollywood? Can we stop pretending like after you have a baby, it's like 6 weeks later, a bikini body? Like, I feel hopefully we're shining a light on that and that's stopping.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be there.
Yeah. I was just thinking the other day about all the movies that I've seen with parents, and how the mom is always just this perfect size 2. Like there's just never been anything that we can watch that actually truly represents a normal American family in any type of way. I mean, on a lot of levels, but weight and size after having multiple babies is definitely top
weight and size and age. Like
age.
Why age? Like I personally in my career, and I'm 30, I'm going to be 40 soon. And I've been playing moms since I graduated from college.
Oh my gosh.
When I was 22 years old. That was my first like big commercial that I booked right after I graduated from college. I played a mom. I played a mom to a newborn in like a Johnson & Johnson commercial. So not too crazy. Like every job I've ever booked, it's like, it's, biologically possible that I'm the mother to this child.
Sure.
But like, even on Just Add Magic, like I was 34 when I booked that. And my daughter, like, Kelly, my daughter was 11 or 12.
Oh, right.
So totally biologically possible, but and my TV husbands are always a little bit older than me.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
In the same generation, like it's never been gross, but they're always like 5 to 7 to 10 years older than me.
That's
always.
A lot. That's a big age difference. I mean, that's a big age swing in terms of just what you look like and, where you are in your life.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's like Hollywood normal.
Right. They want the moms to be young and pretty and youthful, and they don't care if the dads have gray hair because they're a dad.
It just makes them look more distinguished.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I watched someone watch it on a plane. But that movie with Jennifer Lawrence with the brooms, she invents brooms, or she's a saleswoman or something.
That was me that you watched.
Were you watching
it on a
it?
plane?
Sure, of course it was. I mean, who else am I on a plane with besides you? But she was like, it's
Joy.
Jennifer
It was called
Lawrence.
Joy.
Oh, Joy. Right. love her to death.
Yes. Oh, yes.
But I was so irritated that she was like a mom of like a 7-year-old or something. I mean, like, it's just, of all the women that they could have cast, there was no one that was slightly more believable to be a mother, you know?
Yeah.
I know. That bullshit standard remains, I'm afraid.
You also have had a lot of
I go to auditions now and they're like teenagers. Or like, I went to an audition the other day and I was like saying goodbye to my daughter as she left for college, meaning she would be 18. And like I said, I'm 39.
Oh my gosh.
So, and no one bats an eye. Like, it's not weird. It's just Hollywood normal, and that's growth. So I worry about like my career in 5 years, and I'm like, am I going to be grandma?
Yeah. Get
so
ready.
Be it. Get the money and run.
Start studying like daycare and day homes or whatever it's called. What are they called?
What?
Like retirement homes.
I know, like,
I was like, daycare.
Like, a place for mom.
You also, Catia, have had a lot of luck playing cops over your career. I just want to point that out. You've played a lot of cops. How many cops have you played?
Ooh, two or three.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like moms and cops, we could like go
She's
together.
You've got a very trustworthy,
friendly cop, face.
Thank you.
You're like. You could like hug me if I got assaulted, but you could also potentially like kick someone's ass in an alley.
Sure.
While holding a baby, obviously, at 24.
Like whatever, like I will take whatever jobs Mariska Hargitay doesn't want. Like I'll just, like the caring, kick ass, but caring, like trust me, show me where he touched you.
She's lovely, but don't cross her. What'd you just say?
She goes, trust me, but show me where he touched you.
Oh, yeah.
No. Right? Isn't that like, that's SVU basically.
Okay, but let's talk about your second, because if anybody here has watched, I call it Baywatch, but it's not called Baywatch. Malibu Rescue is a brand new show. And there's like a little movie first. Like, what is it? An hour and 20 minutes movie, the first part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So there's Malibu Rescue, and now it's on as a series, and Catia also plays the mom. But you are
the mom
again, like 9 months pregnant.
Yes, that is my second job that I booked. Hugely pregnant. This was a year ago. Almost, my baby just turned a year, so it was almost literally. It was 1 year and 1 month ago that I booked this job.
Oh my gosh.
It was just so bananas, like a same situation. I hadn't been on an audition in months. I was in full on just like pregnant mom, let me get ready for the coming of my second child mode. And I get a call from my agent and like, yeah, you have an audition. It was like repeat, just literal repeat of 5 years ago, just crazy. So I'm like, well, you need to let them know that I'm really, really, like really, really pregnant.
And I might get
like, yep,
sick. I might get sick when you need me for a costume fitting.
I was paranoid, and it was ironically the same casting directors who had cast me 5 years ago. So they knew my story.
Oh my gosh.
And my history of having kids 2 weeks before they're due. And my history of one time it happened. I'm like, my rich, deep history of the one time it happened. But but I go in and audition and I got it despite the fact, and again, it was the same thing. I'm like, there's no fucking way that they're going to take a chance on me again, because last time it wound up working out in the long run, but like I couldn't do the job because I had a baby 2 weeks early. There's no way. But like, I got it. And I was terribly nervous the whole time. And this was a longer shoot. Like Just Add Magic was a pilot episode, so it was 30 minutes, and I was only in one scene, so I was only going to work this one day. But this job was a movie, a 90-minute movie, and I was in several scenes, and there's like scenes at home, there's scenes on the beach, there's a scene in the car, like several, many days of shooting. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna give birth in the middle. But what? So
you kept your legs closed and kept it together, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good
job. So many Kegels.
But did they write?
Kegling it in there. Kegel.
Did they write the scene? So then in one of the episodes, you actually have the baby
Right.
Did they write that because you were 9 months pregnant, or were they actually looking for a very pregnant woman? Like, had it been another actress, would they have made her pregnant? Or were they like, let's make Catia have this baby delivered by her son on a floating cabin?
You know,
A scene my daughter and I have had extensive conversations
cabin
about.
is floating in the ocean. Better have a baby. It's very realistic. But no, they wrote that. They wrote it in because I was pregnant. Like when I went in for the movie, it was not written for a pregnant mom. It was just mom. But because I was pregnant and they wanted to cast me, they were like, oh, you know what? We love that you're pregnant. We're going to write it in. So they wrote it. I know.
Catia,
I'm very.
You need to keep having children.
You will
Eventually,
keep working.
you will win an Academy Award. Like this is your path. Just keep having last minute babies and you will get a golden statue. I feel very strongly about this.
I know, right? Like
Hollywood loves you pregnant.
Sure don't have kids, but I don't know.
I don't know. I might want to rethink that, sister. I think it's working out for you.
Maybe I can squeeze out one more.
I know. Make Alex write like your big, like another big movie for you, like a big opus about you being 9 months pregnant.
And a cop. Be a pregnant mom cop, and all of the world will adore you. This is your fame.
Yes. I mean, it got Frances McDormand an Oscar in Fargo, so I can do it too.
There you go.
Well, there you are.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about after your first. I came to visit you, and you were having trouble. It wasn't quite what you thought it was going to be, which I just feel like a lot of moms don't always talk about. So if you're willing to share with us your experience, I think a lot of moms would appreciate it.
Totally. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. It was brutal. It was the worst time of my life, honestly, after my son was born. Like everything was fine. Like, oh, he's beautiful, he's perfect, he's healthy. I had no major complications. I should be so happy, Like there was a lot of shoulding on myself, which I think a lot of moms do. Like I should be happy, I should be fulfilled, this should be enough. I shouldn't be so tired. I shouldn't feel such despair. I think like my circumstances also, I mean, I just told this like funny, amazing story about how I had a baby and couldn't do this job. But at the time it was terrible. I was devastated. I mean, of course I was thrilled at the birth of my beautiful, healthy son who I adore. Of course I was. But I was also super devastated that I lost the biggest job that I had gotten thus far in my career. And I felt like I couldn't mourn that or like express my disappointment, because what kind of mom isn't just thrilled with the birth of her first child? Like what kind of selfish, horrible person would like feel disappointed at the loss of her own, step in her life? So I didn't like mourn it. I didn't like go through that. I also have a history of depression. It's happened to me a couple times in my life. It runs in my family. And like 2 times, both in my 20s, they were triggered by breakup. So like triggered by a big, trauma, emotional like trauma. And I went into like a dark depression 2 times. So this was my 3rd time, but I felt like really ashamed about it because here I am, new mom, gorgeous, healthy boy, should be so happy. And I wasn't. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do with it. It didn't like come naturally to me. And I felt like it should, also that like bullshit thing of, when your child is born and they look into your eyes and you look into your eyes and you just fall in love and you're a mommy now and your life is complete. Like that kind of myth that that story that's told. And that does happen for some women. And I believe that. And I think that's wonderful. But it didn't happen for me. My labor was so fast and intense and early. So I was in sort of a state of shock. And when he was born, like, he was screaming, he didn't latch on. We had so many problems nursing. He was colicky the first few months, like, which is, moms, it's like that catch-all term for, like, they just won't stop fucking crying and there's really nothing you can do, and like we did all the things like the like that, what's that ginger water, gripe water or whatever.
Gosh, we
like
lived on
that
gripe
shit that
water.
doesn't
Yeah.
work, like, all they just cry, and then at 3 months he just stopped, and it was okay. But like nearly every day between 5 p.m. and 9 to 10 p.m. he would just cry. He would just cry. It was horrible. And I would stick him on the boob. Like, we finally figured out nursing after I'd had like mastitis and an infected nipple and all this horrible stuff that we go through. But I couldn't have him on the boob for 5 hours.
No.
And then so I would take him off and he would cry. And then I would feel guilty because, and there's like the G word, right? Like, I felt so guilty all the time. I'm like, why isn't he happy? Why aren't I happy? Why can't I sleep? Like, I had the opposite problem of you, Tracey. Like, I couldn't sleep. Like, I had terrible insomnia for the first time in my life. Like, even though I was so exhausted and I would finally get the opportunity to sleep, and I couldn't. Like, I could not calm down my brain.
And what
I felt
were you
so guilty?
What were you thinking, like, trying to sleep? Like, were you just awake, or were like terrible thoughts going through your head, or what was it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like textbook, postpartum depression, like, I think it's I'm glad we're talking about it, because I feel like a lot of people think, oh, postpartum depression, so you went crazy and you were gonna like drown your baby in a bathtub. Like, and I think there are some levels of that it certainly gets that extreme. Like, but it was never that extreme for me. So I think that's why I didn't recognize it. I just like felt I didn't have like terrible thoughts of. And they even say in the hospital brochures, like, if you have thoughts of harming yourself or your baby, call this number. And I'm glad that number's there. But I think for a lot of women, I had, I don't know, a mild to moderate case, if that's what you want to call it. So I didn't do anything about it. I just like suffered and didn't sleep and felt terrible. And I just felt so, I wasn't in it. For me, it didn't look like depression, but a depression as I knew it, or depression as we define it. Like, I wasn't, devastatingly sad. For me, I was terribly anxious. I was just so anxious, and I couldn't relax, and I couldn't sleep. And even like calm moments or moments of joy, it's like I could barely feel it. I was so like,
ugh, that's horrible.
I know it was horrible, and I was so not kind to myself about it. I just beat myself up for it. I'm like, why am I feeling this way? What is wrong with me? It was a lot of like expectations of what a mother should be. Like, a mother should be kind and calm and happy, and
like what you play on TV.
Like what I play on TV, like the bullshit.
You're like, I'm not being myself. I'm not being my
TV self.
My TV self. But it is hard.
Yeah,
I mean, you're right. I mean, postpartum, I mean, it's like a kind of a catch-all for a lot of things that are very non-specific. And I think we've talked about this a lot on other podcasts, how women just kind of have to deal with things, and we just deal with it because we don't either have the capability to discuss it, or we can't even identify it, that it's actually something's gone wrong. I mean, we just had an episode about leakage, and like, actually
I listened to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, maybe we shouldn't all be leaking. Maybe we should talk about that, and maybe we can get it fixed, but we just always have to say, we're just sort of raised to say, well, it's just part of having a baby. Your body's broken, and then you just have to walk around with a broken body for the rest of your life. And it's not necessarily the case. And same with postpartum. I mean, it affects people so differently, and you're so out of your mind that it's hard to identify it for yourself. I don't know how you dig out of that.
So what did you do? How did you dig out?
I So when my son was I didn't do anything about it until my son was 6 months old. So that was a long time to suffer and to not sleep. And I finally like kind of broke down about it and was like, I feel like something's wrong. Like it took me 6 months, like to be this miserable, to be like, I think that this isn't right. Do you know what I mean? Um, so I started seeing a therapist. I wasn't seeing a therapist at the time. And the only times I've seen a therapist in my life before this was the 2 times in my life that I mentioned before that I went into a depression, like post breakup, and my world was, a mess. But then I would see a therapist briefly and quote unquote get better. And then I would stop, you know? Um, so I started seeing a therapist who's wonderful here in Los Angeles, and like, she's a marriage and family therapist and also sees a lot of women and postpartum women, and helped me through it. I also started taking drugs, and I want to be honest about that too. I started taking Zoloft, our good pal Zoloft, and that helped me. I don't take it anymore. I took it for a time, and it helped me kind of like get out of the really bad place to do the work in therapy that was required to like really recover.
That's interesting. That's a good point. You have to kind of recalibrate on some level to, like you said, to be able to do the work to see again, because you're so out of your mind. If you don't have some baseline of normalcy, you can't fix the other stuff that's really bothering you.
Yeah.
And why are we so embarrassed to take medicine? I mean, it's just it feels like something that people don't want to admit, right? Like
totally.
It's okay. You needed help. Like it's okay to get help. You don't have to be wanting to, hurt your child to need help.
Right.
Yes. Yes, totally. Yeah, it's a shame. It's that awful shame that we do to ourselves. I think all humans do it, but especially women and especially moms. Mm-hmm. Like there's this expectation that, motherhood is supposed to fulfill you, complete you. I don't know. And like, if you need help, there's a shame. If you need help from like your friends and neighbors, or if you need help from your friend Zoloft, like, and we make little jokes about it, like, oh, mommy needs her wine, and that's okay. But like, it's not okay to be like, mommy needs her therapy. Like,
right.
mommy needs to take Zoloft right now to like calm down and get through it.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of shame about it.
Well, and asking for help puts you in a vulnerable space because you're publicly admitting that you're not a super mom that we all want to be, So if you just have to tell your friends or your neighbors or your family, I just can't do this right now. Can you help me? That's you saying, I'll talk for myself, like a type A personality, slightly competitive in life. Like that's just me saying I'm losing, and I'm throwing in the towel rather than just, you could flip it and say, wow, she's really self-aware and she's going to do a lot better for everybody because she's getting some help whatever that may be.
Yes. Yeah. And not feeling like, oh, this is another thing. I bet this rings true for a lot of people. I felt like a failure. Mm-hmm. Like I am failing at being a mom. Like my son won't stop crying. I'm failing him. And I'm failing myself. I'm failing my husband because I'm like so needy and weepy and I'm a mess. Like I'm failing my family. I apologized all the goddamn time. Like, I'm so sorry that I feel so bad. Like, I'm so sorry that I'm not happy. Like,
that's hard.
Fucking it all up. I know, it's terrible. It's really, really terrible.
And just having babies who cry like that, like all the time, just that, having to listen to that is so, it guts you. Just having to live with that, let alone anything else, is just extra hard. It just changes your chemical makeup because you're listening to screeching. It's loud.
And as a new mom, it affects your body.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Like you hear a scream and everything inside of you is, there's no way to describe that to people who haven't had babies, right? Like that there is just a physical reaction more than like, you can't tune it out. Your body tunes it in.
And dads can. Like dads don't have that like head to toe,
visceral.
like physiological reaction to a baby in distress that
Hormonal
women
response.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And just like the shock and trauma of giving birth anytime, but giving birth for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to prepare. Like, you read the books and you take the classes and like, that's great if it helps you some, but I think it's all like, there's no way to prepare for birth. And like, it's awesome how much focus there is now on birth and like birthing classes and all the different ways to give birth and hypnosis or in the water or in your house or in the woods or whatever. It's amazing. But like, there's still not there's still not enough talk about like post birth and post, the support that women need then.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you need all the help. I think it's after. I mean,
Sure.
giving birth is amazing and you totally need help, but like,
you really need help. Yeah.
Recovery,
this is a weird.
That's when I felt kind of like abandoned by. I don't know. Like, you see your doctor all the time,
but it's
on
not
the
really
way.
about. It's not really about you. It's about like this one piece of a thing that happened to you and the baby, but nobody really puts it together, which is something else we kind of keep talking about a lot.
There's also something that came to my mind. This is totally weird, but my daughter had a tooth that was like hanging by like one, she calls it gum string, right? Like disgusting. Like, it's like pointed to the side. Anyway, it was like 3 days of this, right? And I'm just like, just pull the tooth out. Just grab it and pull it out because that tooth is coming out. And she's like, no, it hurts. It hurts. And the first thing I thought of when she was saying that was having a baby inside of you during labor and knowing that it has to come out. And I was just like, yeah, well, I just kept thinking to myself, like, yeah, it'll hurt for like a second. Obviously, labor doesn't hurt for a second, but like in my brain, it took me back to this place of like, the baby's coming out, okay? The baby's coming out of my body, whether it's cut out or I push it out, it's coming out. And that fear that she feels at the age of 8 to pull a tooth out that's gonna come off was like, somehow I was relating it to that fear that I had in labor, knowing, okay, I just have to push this baby out. This is gonna hurt really, really bad, but it's happening. You know? Yeah. And it was funny. I hadn't thought about that in like a really long time. And it was like so visceral and so like real, that fear. And that, like you said, the experience of birth, especially your first time when you do not know what to expect, is traumatic. And we kind of ignore it all because it's part of such a larger process. Mm-hmm. But that fear and that actual physical experience is so, so real. We don't really talk about it.
And there's no way around it,
Yeah,
like
that's what I was saying.
You're gonna have labor and you're gonna have this baby. Like,
there's no app for giving birth that like avoids, different things that you don't want to do. You can't Uber out a baby.
And you'll be happy to know she lost the tooth this morning. It came out in her breakfast sandwich. She did not swallow it, and we're very excited.
But did the gum string come out in the breakfast sandwich? Because now that's in my brain and I can't deal.
She's like, oh, I just heard a gum string break.
Gross. Disgusting.
It was an awesome couple days of that thing dangling.
Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I digress. So, well, Catia, we really appreciate you sharing that story with us. I think a lot of moms are, have been or are where you were at, which is not feeling like it's severe enough to get help. But if you're not okay, you're not okay, ladies.
And you can get through it. I mean, the good news is that it's not a death sentence. It's not a life sentence. You can work it out. You have to have the time and the energy and the wherewithal to get through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And ask for help and go seek help. I mean, I'm lucky that I had the time, and like the financial resources to go to a therapist and pay for it. And that really, really helped me. But like, ask for help. I don't know. Like, we just keep suffering. Like, how long do we keep suffering before we're like, oh wait, maybe I don't have to do that? You know, it was like your podcast the other day on the Leak It. Like, oh, that's just normal. Oh, being a mom. It sucks when I laugh or pee or do a jumping jack. Oh well, like why do we put up with this shit? You know, like it's noble to suffer or something. We got to stop that.
Yeah, because if it was men, they would have been at the doctor the second something leaked.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one drop out of the wrong orifice and the whole world would shut down.
Oh, totally. The poor things.
Poor things. Poor things. Oh, God bless them.
Catia. So you guys, you can see Catia on Just Add Magic on Amazon. She's Kelly's mom. That's all I'm going to call you.
Which, if you guys haven't watched the show, it is one of the few kids shows. It's. I guess you have to be a scooch older.
But our girls were like 5 when they started watching it.
It is such a delight. Like it's one of the few shows that like the family can watch together, and you don't want to gouge your eyes out. It's so great. Painful. It's so good, and you're so good, and it's such a lovely show.
And Malibu Rescue. Tell us where we can find Malibu Rescue, which I like to call Baywatch.
Teen Baywatch.
Teen Baywatch.
It's on Netflix. It's on this little streaming service called Netflix. People
never heard of it.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's a movie and it's also a series.
And you just got to see Catia give birth on a floating cabin.
Sure,
baby delivered by her son.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get this, my teenage son delivers my baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
that's not just start siphoning money into therapy just right there. Like if that's not some sort of Oedipal twisted like thing.
But the best part is that so Tracy's daughter and my daughter were watching it, and I wasn't paying any attention. I didn't even know what they were watching, which is sorry.
Sure.
I was like in the other room, and I just heard all this screaming, and I was like, "What's happening?" And I kind of like walked in and looked at the TV, and I was like, "Oh, there's Catia having a baby
on a floating."
And that's when I texted you. Like adorable teenage little heartthrob boy in between her legs.
Oh yeah, I was like, and that's her son. And I just was like, oh my gosh. And I said, Evie, that's one of my good friends. Your daughter's eyes were like, she was like, you know her? And I was so funny. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, they're both great shows, and we are really looking forward to your your
third baby,
your prolific pregnant career that's going to lead you to, you're going to be the next Meryl Streep, but only if you're pregnant. That's
and I want you accepting the award fully pregnant so that everyone can be like, look at her pregnant Oscar dress.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Catia, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I love you guys. I'm a big fan. I saw your show when you were in LA a few years ago. Was that like 3 or 4 years ago?
Gosh, that
was like 100. It was about 100 years ago.
It feels like it.
That was a whole baby ago for me. I'm like, that was one baby ago. I had a little baby.
Well, thank you. We're big fans too, and thanks for giving us some deets on your crazy life. And we wish you the best, and can't wait to see you on a show.
Thanks.
Literally,
right back at you
on Baywatch.
We're on tour.
We got a tour update.
Hey friends, not so much of a tour update since we just finished our winter spring tour and it is now summer. Kill me now. There are not enough snacks in the world for my children. But we wanted to share something with you. If you've ever been to a show and you've seen our awesome mom karma cards, there was a really cool post this past week. And Tracy's going to read for us what it was.
Yep. So this came through our feed. While grocery shopping today, Miles decides to be 3. He was constantly talking back, screaming, throwing food in the aisles, knocking down food, running off and having meltdowns in the middle of the aisles. As much as I just wanted to run out of there, I was determined to get shopping done. It didn't help that Jack also decided to try out some toddler tendencies either. He was crying over food, throwing my phone, and also screaming at his brother's screaming. I saw people whispering. I saw some disapproving looks, but again, I was freaking determined not to have my kids succeed in having their mom give up on grocery shopping. However, while we finally were able to check out, we went head to head about his request for a bag of chips. He screamed so loudly at me, kicked the cart, and sprawled out in the middle of the floor. I felt every judgment, stares, and shocked faces just burning through me from the packed store of customers. A stranger came up to me and gave me this card. She had a huge smile on her face and said, "It's so hard. Oh my God, it's so freaking hard. You're seriously doing a great job not losing your cool right now. I mean it. You're a great mom. I'm going to cry. Oh my gosh, she says. I gave this complete stranger a hug and felt tears just coming down my eyes. I thanked her and felt less, quote, heavy with juggling this hard moment. Next time you see a mom having a hard time, stop staring at her. Tell her she's doing a great job because she is. This stranger completely turned around my day. I am so grateful for this person. Hashtag ban of mothers.
And she put up a little picture of her awesome mom card that mom gave her in the grocery store.
So thank you guys. This is, such a huge part of why we love our job and why we love the Pump and Dump Show and why we love Band of Mothers. Thank you guys for taking those cards home and passing them out. You just, we've heard it since we were children. You just never know what a small act of kindness can do to people. And moms need it so much because as you heard in this episode, the guilt and the shame that we feel constantly for just failing is almost too much to bear sometimes. So if you need more karma cards, you can get them on our website. They're $3 really just to cover the cost of packing them up. But we still have a 15% off coupon code that's hashtag Band of Mothers. So you can get 15% off anything on our site. If you want more cards, we will send you a huge stack. Spend the summer spreading some good mom karma. It really does make a difference, even if people don't post about it on the gram. So thanks, guys.
And I think we should spend the summer on this podcast, kind of ending each episode since we're not touring with something really fun and inspiring for all you mamas out there.
Yeah.
So we'll work on that.
And if you've got stories, send them into us. Post them on our private Facebook group Band of Mothers, or DM us or email us. It's just us. So send us your stories. I love that.
Before we were moms, we